by the standards of today. As we waited and as we prepared for the advent and the excitement of the new millennium, the 21st century, we were worried about whether the elevator would get to the right floor. Our clocks would turn forward and not backward. Our computers would go haywire, and our electronic equipment would in fact shut down. Y2K. Since January 1st, 2000, the beginning of the new millennium, here's what we have experienced as a nation and as a world. We had an election in 2000, which led to a long recount, litigation. The victor that emerged was decided by a single vote of the Supreme Court. We thought we were on the brink of a constitutional crisis of immense proportions. Less than a year after that election, awful, heinous, hateful men hijacked planes, ran them into the World Trade Center and into the Pentagon, and cost thousands of people their lives. Arising out of that, the nation mobilized, and we were at war first in Afghanistan, then in Iraq, both places which we remain today. And as the nation absorbed the tragedy of 9/11 and the resulting anxiety and commitment of lives and money to these wars, the fury and power of a massive hurricane struck the Gulf Coast, my hometown. Broken levees, tepid governmental response at every level. 2,000 people lost their lives, and almost 1,000,000 people were internally displaced from their homes in the states of Louisiana and Mississippi primarily. And then 2007 and 2008 rolled by, and we began to feel the shuddering effects of a subprime mortgage meltdown, followed by, in a year later, in September of last year, the Congress and the nation moving with rapid speed to spend $1 trillion to bail out the largest financial institutions in the world and the largest financial institutions known to humankind. On top of that, as we began to grapple with that, the nation has absorbed a wicked recession. 14 million plus people in this nation are long-term unemployed. The largest number of people in the history of the nation receiving food stamps and unemployment payments, and a recession which has affected all 50 states. Certainly you know in this city how it's challenged this city and this region and this state. So what is the point? The point is that when you look back on Katrina, Iraq, Afghanistan, the towers, subprime, the recession, doesn't it make Y2K seem almost irrelevant? But on the other hand, very importantly, we have been witnesses, participants, spectators, engagers in a time in American history, the last 10 years, that is unprecedented. 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 300 years from now, 4th graders, 8th graders, 10th graders will read in their history books about the election of 2000, about the towers, the wars, the hurricanes, subprime, and the recession. We've been witness to more than almost 5 historic events in just a 10-year period. And these events set the framework, set the challenge, set the table for the challenge for this generation. This generation of leaders, political and business, this generation of families, this generation of young, this generation of old. Because as you look beyond the landscape and the confines of the continental 48, the 50 states of the nation, we're in a world where new nations, new economic tigers, China, India, Brazil, Indonesia, are rising, building, strengthening, trying to educate, build infrastructure, gain competitive advantage over components of manufacturing and the economy. So we are at a crossroads as a nation. What is at stake is whether our children and grandchildren will have the standard of living and the quality of living that is better than ours. Or will they have a standard of living and a quality of living on relative terms, like our grandparents and our parents' grandparents, because of the challenges we face in a nation. Right now in this country today, 1/3, that's right, 1/3 of all young people will not finish high school on time. Right here in this nation today, every year, 7 million young people drop out of high school. They are tomorrow's prison population. They are tomorrow's public assistance recipients. They are tomorrow's people that need a safety net. So I'm here today to say all of this, that I sometimes become weary at Soundbite America, an obsession with news cycles, earnings cycles, and election cycles that has forced us into a mindset of short-term gain and short-term loss.